The name Napoleon Bonaparte has become almost synonymous with greatness, power, and glory. In popular imagination, he single-handedly led France into war against the whole of Europe, and, at least at first, he won. To the French themselves, he remains a towering reformer, the architect of the modern state, and the author of the Napoleonic Code, one of the first truly modern civil law systems in the world. And yet, behind that monumental public image lies a far more intimate and deeply human story. While he was writing tender, passionate letters to his wife from distant battlefields, she was openly unfaithful to him, carrying on an affair with a younger lover in full view of Parisian high society. Napoleon knew. He understood more than most. And still, he did not leave her. Among rulers of the Western Christian world in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, divorce was not simply rare, it was almost unthinkable. The reasons had less to do with religious doctrine and more with perception and power. How could a man be trusted to govern a nation if he could not manage his own household? How could a sovereign command respect if he failed to maintain order in his own marriage, or if he openly succumbed to personal instability? Marriage, especially at that level, was not merely a private arrangement. It was a political institution, a reflection of discipline, control, and authority. And yet, the divorce between Napoleon Bonaparte and Josephine de Beauharnais did not arise from scandal, arguments, or moral outrage. It was not driven by jealousy, nor by betrayal, though there was plenty of both. After 15 years together, they had no children. And for an emperor, that was not a personal misfortune, it was a crisis of state. Napoleon needed a legitimate heir. The future of his dynasty, and perhaps of France itself, depended on it. So in the autumn of 1809, under mounting pressure from his family and advisors, Napoleon made a decision that would cost him deeply. During a quiet dinner, in a moment stripped of ceremony, he addressed Josephine. He spoke gently, almost tenderly, explaining that despite his affection, despite everything they had shared, he had a duty to France that he could not ignore. He was no longer speaking as a husband, but as a ruler. Josephine, who understood the world of power perhaps better than he realized, did not protest. The decision was accepted with dignity and devastating clarity. On January 10, 1810, the formal divorce ceremony took place. It was solemn, almost theatrical in its restraint. The former spouses read declarations of mutual devotion. Napoleon insisted that Josephine retain the title of empress. He asked her to consider him her closest friend, to never doubt his feelings. These were not empty gestures. They were the remnants of a bond that, despite everything, had never fully broken. At the same time, he spoke with striking bluntness about his future marriage to Marie-Louise of Austria, the 19-year-old daughter of the Austrian emperor. He reportedly described the union in cold, almost clinical terms, saying he was marrying a womb. It was a statement that revealed the brutal reality of his position. Love had been replaced by necessity. Josephine, for her part, was no passive figure in this story. She once remarked, with a mix of irony and candor, "The only thing that ever came between us was my debts, not his manhood." It was a sharp, almost defiant observation. Napoleon's manhood, after all, included numerous affairs. But Josephine herself was hardly innocent. Her own romantic life had been just as active, just as complicated. Their marriage had always existed in a world where fidelity was more an ideal than a rule. Her infidelities were no secret. Paris knew. The salons whispered, laughed, judged, and moved on. And Napoleon, a man of extraordinary intelligence, was fully aware. Yet he endured it, not out of weakness, but from a complex mix of pride, love, and perhaps an understanding that their relationship was never meant to be simple. One of the most striking episodes in their story occurred in 1799 when Napoleon returned from the Egyptian campaign. Though militarily inconclusive and ultimately overshadowed by British naval dominance, the campaign had elevated his reputation. As he traveled back to Paris, crowds gathered, cheering his name. Long live Bonaparte! He was greeted as a savior, a man destined to restore order to a fractured nation. When he entered the assembly hall, deputies rose to their feet and sang La Marseillaise a cappella, a powerful gesture of admiration and expectation. That evening, military bands filled the streets of Paris, celebrating the return of their hero. And yet, When he arrived home, there was nothing. No wife. No welcome. Only servants. Napoleon didn't hesitate. He knew exactly where she might be and what she might be doing. Rage overtook him. He locked himself in his study. When Josephine finally returned, he refused to let her in. She pleaded, waited, endured his silence for nearly an hour. Ironically, on that particular day, she had not been with a lover, she had been out of town. But by then, the truth of her past actions made any explanation meaningless. And still, he did not leave her. Why? To understand that, one must return to the beginning. Josephine de Beauharnais was 6 years older than Napoleon. She was a widow, a mother of 2, and a survivor of the French Revolution. Her first husband, Alexander de Beauharnais, had been executed during the Reign of Terror in 1794. She herself had been imprisoned and narrowly escaped the guillotine. These experiences shaped her deeply. She learned to rely on charm, adaptability, and emotional distance. They met in 1795, likely at one of the so-called victims' balls, gatherings of those who had survived the terror. Guests wore red ribbons around their necks, symbolizing the blade that had nearly taken their lives. It was a world suspended between trauma and indulgence, and it was there that Napoleon fell in love. His letters to her reveal a man consumed. I wake filled with thoughts of you. Your image never leaves me. You are the only thing that exists for me. Are you angry with me? Have I displeased you? My soul is crushed when you are silent. I cannot live without your letters. They are my life. 1,000 kisses, my sweet love, but do not send me any in return. They set my blood on fire. These are not the words of a distant emperor. They are the confessions of a man overwhelmed by emotion. Josephine, however, hesitated. She teased him, calling him a puss in boots, mocking his Corsican background. But he persisted, with passion, with gifts, with unwavering intensity. Eventually, she said yes. They married, and almost immediately, they separated. Napoleon left for Italy, beginning the campaign that would establish his legend. He won battle after battle, Lodi, Arcole, Rivoli, transforming himself into a national hero. And through it all, he wrote, I have not spent a single day without loving you. Among all my duties, you are the only thing that matters. But her replies were distant. And soon, there was another man. Hippolyte Charles, a young officer, charming, carefree. Their affair became one of the worst-kept secrets in Paris. Napoleon, far away, sensed it, feared it, suffered because of it. His letters turned darker. I no longer love you. I hate you, and yet I cannot stop loving you. You are my torment and my joy. When he learned the truth, he was furious. But he did not end the marriage. Instead, he mirrored her behavior. During the Egyptian campaign, he began a relationship with Pauline Fors, known as Napoleon's Cleopatra. She followed him, became part of his inner circle, for a time. Yet despite all of this, he returned to Josephine. After Egypt, their relationship nearly collapsed. He considered divorce. She begged him to stay, promised to change. And he did, perhaps because he loved her, perhaps because she had become inseparable from his identity. Over time, their relationship evolved. The fiery passion softened into familiarity, into something quieter but enduring. In 1804, he crowned himself emperor, and Josephine, empress. But the absence of an heir remained. And in the end, it was stronger than love. Napoleon chose the empire. But Josephine never truly left his heart.